But is there a lot of like snakes and creatures and all that stuff, sort of stuff where you guys go?
If you're asking me this question already, I feel like you probably should not be out in the woods if this is your major concern out of all of them.
100% my major concern would be what's for breakfast and then where are the snakes. That's why I don't camp. Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the Pavement Group podcast. We're talking lots here. David Stepanian. I screwed up, right? So we can call this the Stepanian Companion. If you're trying to get to know him, this podcast will be, I'll leave that alone. I apologize. What's up, Dave? How are you?
I'm doing terrific. Yourself?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good. So Dave is a project coordinator here with the Pavement Group, and this is part of the Inside the Group, Get to Know Our Team series. And Dave's one of our, again, terrific inside folks in Pittsburgh. He's got a great story. We're going to learn a lot about him. But first, how can I not say hello to the best wingman in the business, Tony Grout? What's happening?
What's up, Todd? How are you today?
Dude, I'm fantastic. I got my hat on backwards because I feel like we're going to talk some hockey.
Dude, we got to talk hockey today. You said wingman. I'm there. I'm on the left side, bud.
You're on the left side. Well, we got to stop making the pilot jokes, but those are starting to get a little tired. But you look good, man. The studio looks great. You kind of tightened it up.
Yeah,
you got your Yankees, and I love that. The Stefan Diggs painting.
Yeah, I got a little bit about that. A little VC2 art right there.
VC2.
So that was one of Vinny's I'm Him paintings that I bought off his store. So little Stefan Diggs action.
Dude, those things are so cool too. I don't know how he does that, how you have that level of talent. But so anyhow, so Stanley Cup playoffs going on. Dave and Tony are a couple of puckheads, so we're going to talk about that. But first, Dave, we want to, the audience out there, they're dying to know. How'd you end up here? Who are you? Where'd you come from? What are you made of?
First off, let me set this up for you. I want you to I'm going to bring you back to that day, like you put on that three-piece suit and you walked into the 6031 Suite 100. All right.
Three-piece suit?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I wore this nice skinny suit that I've had for years. It was that was my uncle's suit whenever he was in high school from like in the 60s. It's a really classy suit that I've had forever, and I had to wear it for my interview because I hadn't had a very formal interview in a long time because I was working logistics. Logistics is pretty laid back, so I'm just like, I gotta dress up. And as soon as I walked in there, Tony looked at me and he's like, "If we hire you, don't wear that suit here ever again. This is way too business for us." I'm like, "All right, fine."
Dude, you thought asphalt was going to be a little classier than logistics?
I mean, no, but I had the dress to impress. Better overdressed than underdressed.
He had that 1974 drip, as they call it.
All right, the drip.
Dude.
What color was the suit? I'm trying to envision this because I never saw a picture of it.
It's charcoal colored with some pinstripes going down. So
okay. Now, when you say a skinny suit, like one of those kind of
it's very
new age, like real slim fit.
Yep.
That's hysterical. Dude, that's great. But you got the job, so it worked.
I guess so. Yeah.
There's a funny story about
all that day. It was the drip.
Yeah. Well, you stuck the landing.
I did tell him, hey, do not ever wear that thing again. Give it to your kid in, 12, 15 years.
I will. I absolutely will.
But stayed in the family. How old's your uncle? Is he a lot older than you? Or
he is 56.
All right. So you're talking that suit's been around since the 90s?
At least? 80s, yeah.
All right. Good. Let's get some tales to tell.
Yeah.
For sure. That's fine. So there's a funny story. This reminds me of, so Will Ferrell was going to Saturday Night Live to interview for the cast, go for his audition or whatever. And he walked in and just this, like, I guess, terrible looking suit. And he had a briefcase full of Monopoly money. And so he did his whole thing in front of Lorne Michaels and then just slid the briefcase across his desk, popped it open and said, "I'm just going to leave this here," and walked out of the room.
Dude.
Oh, man. He got the gig. He got the gig. So Dave, you were working in logistics before. You're kind of an operations-minded guy. Is that what you were doing there? Was it an operations function?
Yeah, I was an operations facility manager for a very well-known logistics company.
Okay. We don't name names here. Who was it? No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. What did that job look like?
I'll tell you if I'm allowed to say. I don't know.
It wasn't UPS or DHL.
Oh, okay, gotcha. We can make our own conclusions.
Yeah.
I don't know why we couldn't talk about it, actually. You weren't.
I don't know either.
There we go.
But absolutely, it was a great time. Just, logistics is a burnout industry, especially during the COVID era, because that's the entire time that I worked there. So okay. I was ready for a move on from that lifestyle. I was a first shifter. I worked 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. roughly every day, and it took a toll on the social life because by the time like I'm ready to hit the hay around like 6 p.m., my friends are just getting home from work, and it was just like nothing ever lined up for me. So it's just like, all right, I gotta find something different. So
sure,
we're throwing it back and forth. We're probably going to start that shift here, Dave, and you're gonna probably be the shift leader. So
yeah,
and all the overnight milling jobs.
Yeah,
oh great,
Dave. Oh man, that's pretty. So were you a night owl before, or did you have to completely change like your rhythm in life to become a 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. guy?
I'm always usually a night owl, but it wasn't too big of a shift for me. But honestly, at the time, whenever I got the job, I was actually on unemployment because I got furloughed from my previous job, and I was just sitting on unemployment for a month, and I got so bored. I'm just like, I mean, what's the worst? What am I doing? I'm sleeping at this time of day, so like, what else do I have to do? Might as well just take the job. So I took it.
Sure. Were you able to like sleep during the day? Did that become something that was hard for you to do, or?
At times, yes. It was kind of, especially like during the summertime, because like, sun's still up like right around 6, 7 p.m. And I'm just like trying to fall asleep sometimes. Sometimes I wouldn't get to bed till like 10 and I had to get up in like 3 hours. So like, I don't know. It was definitely hard, but some people really, really like that night shift lifestyle. It was okay because like I could go to the gym right after work and no one would be in there because it's like 11 a.m. right in the middle of the day. Like no one's there. Everyone's at work. I could go to the grocery store. No one's there except for retirees. So like very easy to do grocery shopping. So like there were some pluses to it, but it was definitely a toll on the sleep schedule, a little bit on the social life too, because I worked a Tuesday to Saturday schedule. So I didn't have my Friday nights. I was in bed with getting ready for work at midnight while my friends were, playing poker, like doing whatever the heck we do on a Friday night. And then, Saturdays, I was oftentimes too tired to hang out on a Saturday night, but sometimes I would force myself to go to sleep like right after work. So that way I could at least like spend some time with my friends on a Saturday night. And then no one's doing anything on a Sunday except for hanging out, relaxing. So
you can catch the football games.
Yeah, exactly.
You're up and awake in time for that. Tony, did you do a lot of night work when you were kind of running the crews out on the highways and all that?
Oh, my first probably 3 to 4 years was all night work. I started out obviously on a pavement crew, but then I moved into maintenance of traffic. So that company did a lot of heavy highway work. So I was either on I-95 or the Turnpike doing maintenance of traffic, setting up lane closures and stuff, probably for 3 to 4 years to start my career, Dave. So I want to say you got a little lucky there because it is a whole lot worse. I can tell you that.
Oh, I know. I definitely didn't have the worst of the worst, but it was an enjoyable time, but it was also a pain in the butt too. But it is what it is. Got some good experience from it. Met some great people doing it too.
Well, that experience that you have in logistics, I got to be honest, was one of the reasons why we brought you on board, right? So we turned you right from there right into logistics on this side. Like, talk to us about how things are the same, how they're different, and what that experience there brought to you here.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, while I didn't necessarily know a lot of the maintenance work that went into it that I'm learning here, I know the operation in and out with the client that I'm working with now here and whatever I did over at FedEx. Like the time like frames of what we're doing is essentially the same. Like I had a job at a very rural location for a client that we're working with now, And the on-site was telling me about how their operations are like, from 5 a.m. to like 9 a.m. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. It's that's what when our busy time was over at where I used to work. So the operations are the same. I know exactly when I need to get a guy out on site to take a look at something and not interrupt with the operation. And then when it comes to like scheduling large projects, I just know exactly, when we need to schedule something, how many phases we need to do it in. So that way it's not interrupting a huge operation, when we can start the project, when we need to have it done by, that sort of thing. So it's kind of crazy how it all translated, even though I didn't think it would, considering I was doing operations for a facility, and now I'm doing, paving work for a facility. So it's kind of cool how it kind of ended up translating. I didn't think it would, but good thing you brought me on, I guess. It worked out.
Man, it all worked out.
Worked out quite well. So, again, you're in an operations role, customer-facing role right now as well as a project coordinator. What do you want to be when you grow up, Dave? You're a young guy. I think you've done a great job here. It seems like you're really enjoying what you're doing. You're learning a lot and bringing a lot to the team. A few years down the road, what do you hope you're doing here?
I definitely want to end up in a C-level position eventually. That's like the end goal dream. But I definitely want to move up operationally to a more leadership position. Small businesses run America. I'm a huge fan of the show Shark Tank. So whenever this opportunity came across my desk to work for a company that's essentially still a startup in its startup growing pain phases, I absolutely was excited to be on board, and I want to help grow this thing to the moon and back.
That's cool, man. So what attracts you to that? A lot of people are afraid of that. We're definitely still in startup mode. What are we, 5? This is our 5th season going in. But growing a lot and adding people and adding products and all that. What really attracts you to the startup phase?
It's just like you can take on a position. So like, me as a national project coordinator, I can grow that into something.
Isn't it international project?
Not technically yet.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if that was too early to bring it out or what.
Not technically yet, but if you want to call it that, I guess you can. But, it's just like, you can take this position, you can grow it to and mold it to anything that you really want to become. It's just like, we're still growing. So like, as the company grows, more positions are going to open up for the needs that we're going to need eventually. So it allows me to mold myself to, help the company more as we get bigger. So that's like why I'm excited to work with, startups.
Todd, somehow you muted yourself, bub. That's the first. There's a first for everything, man.
There's a first for. I thought I had made every podcast mistake, but nope.
There's
a new one.
No, we checked
there
that box.
Is a new one. But so it doesn't. So you're not afraid of a challenge. You're not afraid to put yourself out there.
No.
That's great, man. That's great. That's a big thing here. Is we're gonna try some things and fail, right? And having no fear of failure, or very little, is that's huge. So, what's something you're really passionate about in the work you're doing right now?
Something I'm passionate about, or something I'm passionate about the work I'm doing, or both?
Well, let's go with both.
Okay.
I think I know. You know what? Let's lead this into a little. You're very passionate about history, right?
Yeah.
And you had a podcast about history. Tell us a little bit about that. I want to hear. We were talking about that in the studio beforehand. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
So during the COVID times, whenever things were kind of like under, I wouldn't say lockdown, but some things kind of were for a bit. My friends and I had a lot of free time, and we decided that we wanted to just, start a podcast and, get educational. And we are kind of passionate about, our country. And we started a podcast on the Constitution. We have an entire season dedicated to the Constitution, breaking it down from, our forefathers creating these amendments for a purpose and a reason from back then, and how they translate to now, why they're still relevant now. That sort of thing is essentially what it is. We haven't done anything with it in, I would say it's been about a year now that we haven't done anything with it. So it's been really put on the back burner as a lot of us are we're starting to look for houses and stuff and families and, adulting a little bit. It wasn't our primary focus, but it was just something we wanted to do for fun. And we ran with that for a little bit.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Tony, sorry.
So
Todd? Did you study history in school? Like to a higher degree?
No, I only just whatever history classes I took in high school and a few in college as well, but I wasn't a history major by any means.
So what's the name of the podcast?
Oh, God.
Come on.
No, I'm not. I'm just leaving it out. I'll let you guys find it if you find it.
All right, we're going to be looking.
It's another one of the Stepanian Companion podcast.
That might be it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, how many languages do you currently speak during your work hours here?
During work hours, too?
Oh, you do? So other than English, what else you got going there?
I got French going for me. I took German for 4 years in high school. So I have that under my belt, but I don't use it at all.
But French, huh? Like, did you learn French? Did you know French before you started working here?
So a little bit, not a lot, a bit, but 1 year's worth of French is really all I had before coming into this job. Had no idea I was going to even need it. But, growing up, I went to a private elementary school. We learned French, we learned Spanish. And then whenever I was going through high school, middle school, we had the opportunity to pick a language. I'm just like, well, I already know a little bit of French and a little bit of Spanish, so let's learn German. Took German all throughout high school. And then here I am with one of our clients getting requests for stations up in Quebec, and I'm just like, oh man, that's an interesting time.
So Dave's got a cheat sheet on his cubicle wall that has certain phrases that he may or may not use to get proposals in Quebec, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is.
Really?
Have you memorized any of these?
Yeah, I have a couple of them pretty well known. But it's, depending upon where you're at, sometimes they're bilingual, sometimes they're not even bilingual, which is really weird, just how Canada is. Just like, I don't know how to explain how they are. Some of the guys that I even talk to about, why they're bilingual around there, they don't even know. It's just like a very rich French culture in the area, and they just keep speaking Spanish and teaching Spanish to French. To their generations, and they keep going. So it's really weird how it's just very marginalized to just that area of Canada. It's interesting.
Yeah. That is wild. Yeah. So you can't say 2-inch mill and pave in French right off the top of your head?
Sorry. No, I couldn't say it. I'm way better at reading it and writing it than I am speaking it. I try to avoid speaking it if I can, if I'm being honest, because I don't have a whole lot of like I said, I only had French for about a year, and that's like very, very little French experience to be able to have full conversations like that. But
I think ChatGPT is going to go a long way with that sort of thing.
There you go.
Right, you're probably using Google Translate, and it's incredible. You really don't have to know anything; it can be done for you right there. Tony, what's our next question for Dave?
The next question for Dave, I think we got to jump right into it, man. Like, Dave, are you a basketball guy or are you a hockey guy?
I'm a hockey guy.
Exactly. That's why we had you on here today. What do you think, Todd? Jump right into the hockey or what?
Yeah. Well, the Bees are playing tonight.
Yeah, let's do that.
Really, record-setting season. We don't have to talk all about the Bruins, but I think we should.
We'll talk about the President's Trophy jinx if you want. Let's do that.
I don't want to talk about the jinx. No. So, you're a Pens guy? Obviously, Did you work for the Penguins?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
That was pre-COVID. I was a partnerships intern with their team, and then I got a position with their minor league team out in Scranton doing group sales.
Okay. Was that a tough sell?
No, not. They have a pretty passionate fan base out there. It wasn't nearly as tough as you would think, but There were times where, you did kind of have to sell the product because the team's pretty old. I think they've been around there for about 20-ish, a little bit over 20 years now. So,
Okay.
it's the market was pretty tapped, I would say, for the most part, as everyone's been, they live in the area, they know who the Pens are, just sometimes the novelty wears off after so long, but it's entertainment value. So it's something nice to have around the town to keep things interesting, something to do.
Yeah.
Who was the biggest star that may have been coming through Scranton when you were working there, either on a little minor league stint or a IR stint or something?
I think it might have been. It's definitely Casey to Smith because he still floats back and forth between the big leagues and the AHL, and whenever he was there, he's the kind of he was kind of the hometown hero because it's a big deal whenever one of those guys on a 2-way contract gets called up to go play in Pittsburgh. So the town's very supportive of whenever some of their hometown guys get called up to run the show in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I saw him. He was on. He probably was the last one to play net in the regular season this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Hopefully he'll come up one day.
I got a question for both of you guys. Being from Boston, we just have teams in the playoffs all the time. So I don't know I wouldn't know how to answer this question, but I think you guys maybe can help me out a little bit more. So when your team doesn't make the playoffs,
the Patriots this year, like what did you do?
When your team doesn't make we just sit around and watch the last 7 Super Bowls they won. We got plenty of things to fill the time. Right. But true question. So Sabres fan, Pens fan, they don't make the playoffs. If you're watching the playoffs because you're hockey fans, do you pick another team to root for, or do you just root against like your biggest rivals?
No, I mean down here, I've followed Tampa Bay since they were down here. I'm not a huge Florida Panthers fan at all. I just think they got some pretty ignorant fans, and it's just fair weather, right? If you look at the stadium now, ooh, hey, we're in the playoffs, but if they're losing, you could basically you can get paid to have a seat there. So.
It looked like it was half Bruins fans there for Game 4.
Oh, definitely. I mean, because you guys are all down here living anyways, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's April. Most of the snowbirds are back, but maybe they hung around for an extra couple of weeks. How about you, Dave? Are you spending more time hating on like the Bruins, or did you pick another? You're picking like the Leafs or something to go.
I'm not one of those guys to just root against teams just to root against them. I'm just a hockey fan in general. So I'm actually kind of rooting for Boston, if I'm being honest, because they've had a pretty great season. It's a record-setting season. Like, you can't hate the teim for that.
It's history. You're a history buff. You get it. It's history.
You definitely hate them, for sure.
But
I like about Boston to include that messed up accent you guys got. That's what's the worst part.
Bro.
That's it.
So who could give the Bruins a real challenge here, though, on either side?
I got to be honest, man. They look beatable. I mean, Florida's already beat them once, and that's not saying a lot, but I thought they'd come out a little bit more impressive after winning 65 games this year.
Sure.
What do you think, Dave?
Tampa Bay probably has a better shot of knocking them down if that's going to happen.
Tampa's a 3-1 deficit now to the Maple Leafs. So.
I know, which is crazy for me to even see that. So
I really want to see that series, though, that the Toronto-Boston.
So we got 3
of the original 6 in, right? But that would be a bloodbath between Boston and Toronto. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's been a pretty nasty series between those guys. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I really do want to see the Kraken come back, and actually, I would love to see them go far.
So they're tied with the Avalanche right now?
I think they're –
yeah, it's a 2-2 series with them. They play tonight. So, but I'd love to see – well, when's the last time the Cup has been hoisted in Canada? What do you think that? How long
Canadians? The Canadians got it in the 2010s, didn't they?
You're correct with the Canadians, but
Yeah, it definitely was the Canadians.
Parents.
When was it?
1993.
Come on.
1993.
Really?
Casey, can you fact check that for us?
That's it. Fact check.
He's right. He's right. We'll give the other reaction. No, told you, Tony. You were wrong. You knew he was either one of those, Casey.
Yeah.
You're welcome. This is the magic of television, Dave. The magic. So, all right, we got to let you get back to work. But our final question we ask everybody, and hopefully you gave this a little bit of thought. What's one question you wished we had asked?
See, I'll tell you what, I was thinking about that, and I didn't really know what to think about, actually. One question that I wish you guys asked was, if you weren't going to hire me, who was going to take my place if I wasn't selected during the interview process?
He's coming on the next podcast. So you just have to
he'll be here.
watch next Friday. No.
That's it.
No. Nobody. We probably would have folded the company down. I mean, how would we have done this?
You did a good job, Dave. All but the suit. So I was pretty much convinced when I brought you in that you'd find a home here, and you certainly did.
Was it Jenna's story that you guys told during this podcast, or how did that come about?
We never told this story on the podcast, but I guess since you brought it up. So Jenna's application or her resume ended up in the wrong pile, and Jenna wasn't supposed to get an interview. Did you know that, Todd?
No. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and she had her lucky stars floating that day, and she came in, and it was over since then. So I don't know why.
That was really like a yada 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 moment there. You just kind of left out all the good parts.
No, that was it.
It was in the wrong pile. How did it end up in the wrong pile?
Well, Trish had gotten me about 15 or 20. Dave happened to be in there. Jenna was in there, and
yeah,
I kind of went through and did my own online thing and stalking here and there and trying to figure stuff out. And there wasn't, for some reason, she just ended up in that other pile. But I don't know. I must have whatever. But it was actually a good thing.
She was supposed to be in the interview pile. She ended up in the throwaway pile.
She was in the throwaway pile and ended up somehow being in the interview pile. So I'm glad that that happened because obviously with you, Dave, she's a beast as well. So
yeah, that was great. This is weird. I feel like we're. Does she know this?
No, I told Brian one day. I said, "Hey, this is kind of what happened." I said, "Don't say nothing though. Like I'll when the time is right, I will tell her personally." I believe he said, "Okay, bud, talk to you later," and ran out there. Hey, everybody, come here! I got a story I got to tell. I found out that she knew, and I automatically had to call her and just say, "Hey, I mean that's the truth. That's how it happened." But I'm so glad that you ended up in a pile that I ended up calling. So that's a true story.
Yeah. Well,
Dave,
on paper, Jenna didn't look like she was going to be the perfect fit, right? I mean, she had a sales background in the insurance world, but that's what makes the Pavement Group the Pavement Group.
That's it.
We're cobbling together a bunch of people that are just that are learning the industry and learning their jobs that bring a lot of talent and are a lot of fun to work with. It's really what it comes down to.
It's all about fun, Todd.
It's all about fun. You can't spell fun without F-U. No, that's not a good saying. We'll come up with a different one, though.
Yeah.
All right, man. So you don't have one question you wish we had. What you got a favorite movie, favorite food, favorite ice cream? Throw us one more fun fact here on the Stepanian Companion.
One more fun fact?
The Stepanian Companion.
All right, I got one for you. I'm a very adamant survivalist. In my free time, I go hiking and rucking a lot. My friends and I go camping monthly, and we just test out new gear just to see how things go. Yeah, it's just like something we always think about. It's just like, 100, 200 years ago, a 13-year-old boy would probably like laugh in our faces at like most of the people our age or even younger don't even know how to start a fire on their own. So it's just like, how do we go from a time of like hunting and gathering to that's like not even like a skill people need anymore.
God, how did you start that fire in your office today?
Duraflame.
Oh, I got you.
It's a Duraflame log. It's a cheater. No, it's electric, Tony.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Not bad.
That's an electric fire. It's just for ambiance, a little bit of heat.
No, I like it.
Up here in the garage, attic, studio. Gets cold. That's a great point. That is a great point. I think about this a lot. So I've got a 19-year-old, 16-year-old, and 13-year-old. So they've grown up in this you don't have to learn how to do any of that stuff, right? And I feel like I've failed them a little bit. So, trying to teach them how to change a tire. I literally bought when my son got his car 3 years ago, first one to drive out of our children. I bought the whole thing that I had for like an oil pan, the funnel to do an oil change. And I'm like, you can't even do it in these modern cars anymore. You got to just take it to Valvoline. So much of that stuff's gone away. Like you said, starting a fire or survivaling. What's that? Survivaling isn't a word, by the way. Sorry.
Survivaling?
Yes. Surviving.
Surviving.
Survivalisting.
Survivalisting. I got you.
Survivalisting, yeah. But it's a great point. It's you don't have to know how to start a fire anymore.
Right, exactly.
But you afraid we're going to end up in a situation? You know something, David? I mean, you've been studying.
No, I'm not like a.
You're not one of those preppers, right?
No, I'm not a prepper. I don't have like 6 months to a year's worth of just dry food holed up in my basement with like water packaged for ready to drink purposes. It's not quite that. It's just if I had to go out in the woods, could I survive? Or is it woods? Is it forest? Creek? I don't know.
Woods, Dave. Let's call it the woods.
Yeah, they both work. Tony lives in the Everglades, so that's a whole different animal. It's like a rainforest down there.
But if I had to go out into the woods for a week, could I survive? And I absolutely could. I have no problem that I wouldn't struggle. If my phone was dead, I'd be fine. I don't even need a phone.
You said only what would you need? Just the clothes on your back? Need a light or something? What do you need to survive?
I'd take a backpack of stuff. I have a tarp. I have a lot of paracord, a knife. I have many means of starting a fire. I have a lighter. I have some matches, waterproof matches specifically, and windproof, because that's really important, because you never know when you're going to need that, given the environment, the elements, whatever you're encountering, wherever you are.
Are you a Swiss Army knife guy, or are you a Leatherman type dude?
Leatherman, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Those are two different camps. You can't have both.
You probably can, but you're limited to what you can carry sometimes, Todd.
Good point.
But I have a Kelty 120 liter backpack, so I can fit a decent amount of gear in there. Normally, I just run with a tarp and paracord, and I can make a shelter out of that. I'm not really a tent guy. I have a bivy sack and a sleeping pad, so I'm pretty okay with that most of the time, and a couple layers to block out the wind and such, depending upon whatever the weather is outside. Normally, I'm kind of prepared for that. It's always a little bit different here in Western PA, so sometimes you gotta prepare for snow when it's springtime.
Sure.
True. Doesn't the Appalachian Trail run through Pennsylvania?
Yes, it does.
Is that close to Pittsburgh? Is that more east?
It's a little more east from here.
I'd have to do that one time we go up there. Plan a. Todd, you got to be. You got to learn how to build a fire by yourself by then.
Yeah, I'll do the Appalachian. You can drive it, right? Something like that. So, what's the snake game like in Western PA?
What's the snakes
game?
I
mean, you got rattlesnakes out there.
Come down here and visit me because of the snakes.
I'll visit you closer to the beach. I'm not sure I want to go out to the camp where the pythons that you hunt are. I'm not big on snakes. That's why I'm asking. I like before I commit, and I know you're not inviting me because I'm food basically. If after 7 days out in the wilderness,
as long as I can run a little bit faster than you, dude, I'm good.
That's it. Yeah, you don't outrun the bear, right? But is there a lot of like snakes and creatures and all that sort of stuff where you guys go?
If you're asking me this question already, I feel like you probably should not be out in the woods if this is your major concern out of all of them.
100% my major concern would be what's for breakfast and then where are the snakes. That's why I don't camp. We can never answer that in a way that's satisfying to me.
We have some snakes. They're not a major concern, really. Like I rarely, like I probably see one once every couple of months. They aren't nearly as wild around here as they are probably down where Tony's at.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you got nothing poisonous up there, do you?
Yeah, we do. Oh yeah, we have a couple.
What do you got?
Oh, you got your like vicious gardener snakes. You know,
Ooh, yeah. Vicious
We've got
garden.
those too. Tony's got those snakes that you see on YouTube where they like eat a school bus. It's giant.
what?
like an anaconda.
Out here taking over the Everglades, but that's a little bit further south than here. I wasn't going to tell you that, but I want you to come up here to the camp. There's none out there, just rattlesnakes. That's it.
Okay, fair enough.
Come up here? Don't you mean come down there?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm thinking about where I'm at, based where the camp is.
Yeah,
But
I could always fly around.
Yeah.
Come up. I mean, it's going to add 24 hours to the flight, but just so you're not grammatically incorrect, we could make that happen.
Nice.
All good, guys. I think this went well.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about Dave.
Yeah, a lot about Dave. That's good stuff. We got to
Enough.
talk institution one day.
Enough about Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have any podcasts going, or are you guys doing anything, you and your
No.
buddies, or just no time right now?
No time right now. We're all adulting.
Adulting?
Adulting.
Yeah. Adulting stinks. But
Hey, Dave, here's
gotta
part
do
of the show where you got to sit back. You got to be quiet because Todd needs the utmost concentration for his outro.
the outro is a big thing. But first and foremost, I want to thank you for coming on, giving us your thoughtful answers and letting us get to know you a little bit better. You really are. You're a terrific member of the team. Everybody there in Pittsburgh loves having you around, and you do great work and take great care of our customers. So thank you for that, and thank you for the time today. Tony, as always, we're going to nail the outro here, but you're just a phenomenal human being. Is it your birthday today?
No, I mean, every day feels like my birthday if I'm with you, Todd.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But go Bruins. And we want to thank everybody for joining us again for episode whatever this is of the Pavement Group podcast, Talking Lots, and we will see everybody next time. Thank you so much.